Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we have another brand new Mattel Jurassic World figure to take a look at, and this is one that definitely has its fair share of haters, but at the same time, some people that are a fan of it. We've got the Ruthless Rampage Allosaurus, and I will say, straight out of the gate here in person, it actually looks a whole lot better than I expected it to. Originally, the images I had seen of it made it look pretty weird, and specifically the teeth looked massive, and although the teeth are definitely still too big, they don't look quite as exaggerated as they looked in the promotional images. It does look a bit better here in person, and the sculpt in general, I think, looks a good bit nicer here in person than I was expecting. You can see this is another Epic Evolution figure. In fact, this is the largest one that I've had so far, because before this, I only had the Strike Attack figures here on the channel. You can see the box art, though, looks pretty much the same. Really gorgeous Jurassic logo up there. Another shot over here, I guess, of where the Allosaurus lives, near the stream, it seems. But if we turn it around and we take a look here at the back, you can see again a nice shot of the Allosaurus, some of the action features that we have going on for it, and apparently it can evolve for battle, which is pretty interesting. I'm quite excited to actually check that action feature out. And then over here, we've got some other figures that are coming out from Mattel for the Epic Evolution line. The weird Tundra Triceratops figure that they have coming out. Again, who knows if I'll like it when it comes out. We'll have to wait and see, because of course I will pick it up. Regardless, I'm definitely excited now. A lot more excited about this one than I was previously. So let's pop it out of the box and check it out. So here is our Allosaurus out of the packaging. Let's straighten the legs out and stuff and get a good look at it. And one thing straight away, I think the legs might be a little too long, but it's not too bad. The tail also looks like it might be a little hair short, but also not too bad. But the one thing that I can say that I do like about this is it, for the most part, has like a fully colored sort of a look and feel to it. You know, we've got paint from head all the way out onto tail. We've got no nail paint for the hands, but we do have painted nails for the feet, no dew claw paint. But, you know, it definitely looks pretty decent as far as the paint apps go. And, again, the teeth are a bit distracting, but overall, I still think it looks pretty darn nice here out of the packaging. So let's go ahead and jump straight to a closer look at it and check it out from there. So starting up here at the head sculpt of the Allosaurus, you can see in typical Mattel fashion, we do have some really nice fine detail, some really nice scale detail, especially here on the lower jaw. I think the scale detail looks really, really nice down there. But on top of that, we also have some pretty decent paintwork, as we have this kind of dark variation of like a brown for the lower part of the dinosaur, a dark bluish tone here for the upper part, kind of, you know, following the trend of the coloration that you usually see on a Jurassic World style Allosaurus. So of course I do definitely like that. We can see that the eye is painted with a yellow. It does have a nice gloss coat. The pupil, however, is the dark blue that we see, the same dark blue we see up here on the top. As always, I would have much so preferred a black pupil. I don't know why they do it that way. I don't know if it's just, you know, an attempt to kind of switch it up a little bit, but I'm not a fan of that, so a black pupil would have been better. Regardless, again, because it is a dark tone, it doesn't look that bad. You can see the nostrils and everything sculpted out, as well as the Allosaurus crests, and the crests do contain some nice looking sculpt and detail. There is kind of a variation of color we have going on here, kind of like a speckling that we see. I'm trying to decipher it's a speckling, or if maybe it might be that kind of splotchy color that you see sometimes kind of added into the bodies of the dinosaurs, but I think it's just a speckling. Again, you can see the teeth, for some reason, are really big. They definitely are. Again, even though they don't look as big as I thought originally, they are still quite long, especially a few teeth here in the back. They are painted with kind of like an off-white bordering on like a light yellow, and they have a nice sort of a satin shine to them, which is nice, but they're definitely a bit too large. You can see the teeth on the lower jaw are also pretty big, but they don't look quite as distracting as the teeth on the upper side. But you can see as you move into the inside of the mouth, we have like a variation of purple in here. You can also see a nice gloss coat on the inside of the mouth, and you've got that very dark bluish tongue, something that we seem to see pretty often from the Mattel Allosaurus figures, and that has an exceptional gloss coat. You can really see that shining. But as you move back here into the back of the neck of the Allosaurus, you can see that we've got a very heavily armored sort of a look for the back of the neck of the dinosaur. You can also see that the nice cracks and crevices look really good there as you move along. You have kind of like a row of scoots or like ridges moving down right here, and another row of kind of like osteoderms moving down as we lead down into the side of the neck. You can now see that we return kind of like to your scale detail like you see in the face, just a little bit larger, but you do have finer scale detail as you move down into the underside of the neck. As you continue to move back, you can see that the blue starts to kind of like pattern and design down. Here it just kind of follows along with that little line of ridges, but once it reaches the body, it starts to kind of spread out and design a little bit further as it sort of overtakes the body of the Allosaurus. Moving down into the arms, of course, you've got nice muscle definition displayed. You've got the elbow sculpted out, and the hands are nicely placed, and they're not pronated or anything, which is a plus. You can see the fingers look pretty good, nice scoots down the fingers, and you can see the nails look decent, just no paintwork for them. Definitely would have been nice to have some paintwork for the nails, but they still don't look too bad. You do have articulation in the neck, but I think that's going to have to do with the action feature, definitely. The articulation in the arms, of course, is forward and back. You can get some nice range of movement there, and out away from the body, kind of like classic Mattel articulation, though it is making some interesting noises as I do that. But as you move back into the stomach region, you can see again more really nice impressive scale detail moving through. You can also see more of that bluish tone kind of leading down here and meshing with the brownish tone. As we move back up here, you start to see these kind of like quills or something picking up here, or maybe they're ridges, I'm not entirely sure, on the back of the, I guess they are ridges on the back of the Allosaurus, but they are a different tone of blue than you see for the dark blue of the area that they're kind of leading up from, and I'm quite intrigued to see exactly what that action feature is when we get to that point. But as you lead down into the leg, you see more of that bluish tone kind of patterning down. It looks really nice, more of the muscle definition. Again, the knee right there, nice big bulging calf muscle as you lead down. And then as you lead down into the foot, you can see some nice scoots. You could see more of that speckling down there, especially on the middle toe. And you can also see the nails painted with a very nice glossy black, perfectly placed, no sloppiness at all. As far as the articulation of the legs goes, you can move it back and forward. That's actually as far back as the leg goes. That's pretty surprising for a Mattel figure. It goes pretty far forward, not too far backwards. That's very interesting. But you also have a swivel in the ankle, which is something that's pretty common with Mattel. As you lead out here into the tail, you can see that there is not a spot of articulation right here. I think that's because of the action feature we have going on up there. But as you lead back a little further, you do get a spot of articulation right here, which can swivel, move left and right mostly, kind of up and down, but mostly left and right, and swivel. It's actually a rubber reel feel, which is pretty cool. I was not expecting that. It would be neat to actually have the entire figure as that kind of rubber reel feel, whereas it is more of just a hard plastic, your standard Mattel material. But definitely a nicely sculpted tail. You can also see we've got a nice curve as you lead out. Again, we continue to have that armored sort of a look with ridges and stuff leading out all over the place. And at this point, you can see the brown has disappeared, and the entire tail is now that bluish tone. So it's like as the Allosaurus leads along, the blue starts to kind of overtake the body. By the time you reach the tail, it is now the entire body color, or at least the entire color of the tail. And then taking a look at the opposing side, again, you're going to see pretty much the same thing, no real big differences. And again, considering it is an articulated dinosaur figure and stuff, you're not going to see a whole lot of difference as far as like movement shown on one side or anything compared to the other side. Same style of patterning and stuff. The only difference is the leg is leading on the other side, trailing on this side. So you can see the stomach region a little bit better over here, more so than we had seen on the first side. You do also have the Jurassic Facts app code over here. If I can pop it open, there we go. And there's the code if you would like to add the Allosaurus to your collection. I like that the Jurassic logo is there on the inside of that area. It is nice to do it this way in some sense because it's kind of a little more concealed than when you have like that big thing up here where you just pull it up. But at the same time, it's still a little bit of an eyesore. But I do like the fact that we have some injuries right here, or scars or something sculpted out in that area. So that is a nice little touch on the part of Mattel to include that. But you can see everything else, again, looks pretty much the same over here as it did on the initial side. So let's go ahead, check this Allosaurus out as far as its action features go. One other thing I did actually notice right there as I was ending the closer look is there are quite a bit of injuries going on, like scars and slices and stuff, and you can really see it right here in the face. There's quite a few slices right here, a few slices through the palate, so that's pretty cool. I didn't notice them too much previously as I was looking through this figure. I don't know if we have them so much over here. See, I don't really see them on this side, but there are definitely some injuries, at least on the other side. Looks like maybe we might have some in the stomach, but it's a little hard to tell. But that is a really nice touch. I love little added bits of realism like that. So that is definitely really cool on the part of Mattel. Makes it a pretty fun figure maybe to repaint or something like that. And also, as far as the articulation of this leg goes, that's as far forward as it goes. And that's as far back as it goes. It's interesting to see a Mattel figure with kind of more limited articulation, because we don't normally see that. They usually have pretty darn nice articulation. But again, we have the action feature here. We'll go ahead and check that out. Oh, okay, so that's interesting. And then you bring the neck back up. So as we move it forward, it brings the head down, and then it's going to make a snapping action feature and then a sound. Nope, I was wrong. Now it's going up. So that's pretty neat to be able to, you know, pose it that way. I do like that pose. I do like this action feature, actually, because it is definitely a bit different than what you usually see from Mattel, but I also like the fact that you can leave it in these sort of positions and pose it and display it this way, because honestly, that is a really, really cool pose for this. And it's like having the ability to articulate the neck freely, but at the same time, it kind of does it for you, holds it in place. So I do think that is really neat. So let's try to do it a little faster. So I'm not very good at that straight out of the gate, but you can hear some pretty cool noises for the Allosaurus. Then we have this back here. We'll go ahead and check this out. Ah, okay, so as you pull this back, it just kind of extends these, I guess, ridges or quills. I don't know exactly what the goal was for those. And then you push it back and they go back down. So that's okay. I'm not a huge fan of that, but it's interesting at least. It is always nice to see Mattel kind of thinking outside the box and trying to come up with something a little bit different, a little bit fresh. They've definitely done that with the action feature, and then again for that action feature as well. So that's pretty cool, I guess, but not really amazing or anything. As far as the size goes for the Allosaurus, it is quite large. For a length, you're looking at about 17¼ inches, or right around 44 centimeters. And then for a height, in the position it's in, because you could always stand it up taller, you're looking at about 7¼ inches, or a little over 18, approaching 18½ centimeters, but not quite there. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, Robert Muldoon, and the Collect Day Human Being next to our Ruthless Rampage Allosaurus, and you can see it's really quite large. It's the second time now we've had an Allosaurus similar to this, as we had the Extreme Damage version that had come out with Jurassic World Dominion. This is, again, pretty much the same size as that one, if you happen to have that Allosaurus. We've also got a Mattel Velociraptor and Dilophosaurus, which you can see those are quite a bit smaller. We've also got the Mattel Yankshuanosaurus in here, stepping in for a comparison next to this newest version of the Allosaurus, as well as the Mattel Hammond Collection Metricanthosaurus in here, again next to the Allosaurus for yet another comparison. And then the final figure that we have for a comparison is the Bumpy the Ankylosaurus, the adult version here, next to the Allosaurus. I did try to find the Allosaurus that came out with Jurassic World Dominion over here on my shelf, but I guess it's buried or something, I don't know. I can't seem to locate it right now. I did want to do a comparison with it, because I think that one might be pretty much the same size, maybe a little bit longer, but overall this is, again, yet another really quite nicely sized Allosaurus, and definitely again, one of the bigger Allosaurus figures that we've had. So this brand new Mattel Jurassic World Epic Evolution Ruthless Rampage Allosaurus is actually a lot more fun than I was expecting it to be. The teeth instantly threw me off, and I felt like the promotional images kind of made it look like a little bit more of a childish looking figure rather than the more, highly detailed type of a Mattel figure we're used to. But in person, in hand, it actually looks way better than I was expecting it to. The teeth are still a bit too large, and they are a little bit of an eyesore for the figure, but they're by no means as large as I thought they were initially, and, they aren't quite as distracting when you see the figure in person compared to the original prototype images. But as you move through the course of the figure, the Allosaurus is definitely a little bit exaggerated accentuated, a little bit different than you do see on your standard Allosaurus from Jurassic World. But that doesn't mean that it's not absolutely sculpted to the max with incredible fine detail, as you always find on Mattel figures. The scale detail specifically just looks so nice on this. If you look in certain areas like the lower jaw or the arms leading down, like I love how there's just so much variation to the scale detail as you move through the course of the body. You can really see that Mattel puts their all into the sculpts. Even if they're not always our favorite designs, they do always put their all into every sculpt that they release, and you can really see that not only through this Allosaurus, through pretty much everything, but this Allosaurus is a prime example of how good the fine detail is on a Mattel release. We also have a nice looking paint app for it. You know, we've got paint from head to tail, and I think it looks really good. The painted nails are, of course, a plus. I would have liked painted nails in the hands, but it's not the end of the world. I do also like the fact that they've included scars and stuff on it from time to time as you move through the sculpt. There are a few areas that, you know, sport some nice scars, and the Allosaurus, you know, is a little scarred up in Jurassic World, especially in Jurassic World Battle at Big Rock, so kind of follows the trend as far as what we see on the Allosaurus. I like the action features as well. I don't really recall this type of an action feature. It's kind of similar to others, but I don't recall this one specifically, and it kind of allows you the ability to sort of pose it in different ways, which is also really quite nice. Not a huge fan of the ridges kind of extending on the back of the body, but it does at least give it a bit of a unique and different appearance, and it also has some articulation to it. Not the best leg articulation. It's very limited as far as that goes, so that's a little bit depressing, but other than that, I think it's pretty darn cool as far as an Allosaurus figure goes, and like I said, definitely better than I was expecting. So if you are interested in picking one up for yourself, I will include a link in the description to where I purchased mine on Walmart.com, where you can purchase yours right now. So make sure you check that link, go grab this Allosaurus, and also like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.